Hello everyone and welcome. This is Eclectic Kelpi, where we dive into the treasure trove of fantastical media, and today we are going to be ranking every single character death in Black Sails. I am in a pirate era right now. I was so obsessed. The show was so good and so well done. I binged it very quickly. I know that it's a very old show now, but I just discovered it and I'm like, obsessed. It was so well done. And so today we're going to be ranking the characters' deaths from the saddest death to thank goodness they're gone. So the qualifiers for the characters to be on this list are that they have to be a named character, they have to be in at least 3 episodes, and we have to see their death. So we're not getting pulled a Billy Bones where it seems like, oh, he died first in season 1 and then, oh, he fell off the boat again in season 4 and he's dead. No, he's not. If there's no body, there's no death, which means they're not on this list. I also have a reference sheet from the wiki that I utilized to compile all of these deaths, so I'll be linking that as well. So the list is compiled based on the confirmed deaths on the wiki. But with all of that, let's jump in. So we're going to be ranking the characters from the saddest death, real tears, broken heart, lasting impact, single tear, like this was a sad moment, but once it was done, it was like, okay, moving on. Prayers and sorrows. Prayers and sorrows is kind of like middle of the road, like not really like pressed about it, just like, oh, unfortunate, they've passed. I don't care, literally irrelevant. A little Jack Rackham like snicker, like haha, yeah, that's like vindication, and then finally they're gone. Like they needed to be gone yesterday. The series is better off without the character in it. So the first character is Ruben. I think he was one of the ones who died when Blackbeard's ship got taken. I think he's just got to be a Prayers and Sorrows because he's just a crew. Like most characters that are just kind of like they just work here are gonna be Prayers and Sorrows, I feel, or like not caring, because if they just work here, they're just kind of like there. You know, they're just, yeah, that's unfortunate. Next is Major Robbins. Honestly, most of the redcoats I think are going to be I don't care or lower, because pirate's life for me, man. That's where we're going. Same thing with this guy, Lieutenant Beryl. He's also, I don't really care. I honestly don't really remember these two that well. So, yeah, I don't think I really care. However, Mr. Hammond, good. Let him burn. Let him be gone. There's a few things that I can't condone in media, and he did it, so get out of here. Dooley, I think, man, he's hard. Some of these are going to be really hard, I think, because there's a lot of morally gray in this show, and there was nothing wrong with him. I think he's going to go Prayers and Sorrows. I think, you know, he made promises. He was like, Billy Bones is my guy. I'm gonna trust him. I'm gonna follow him. Like he's the guy. He's the goat. Great. Dooley was just kind of there and trying to keep the peace. So yeah, but good character. Good character in terms of like morality, and good character in terms of like portrayal. So Prayers and Sorrows. Next is Zaki. I think he's also Prayers and Sorrows. He's also just a man doing the rebellion, trying to free his people. Prayers and Sorrows. Next is Kendrick. I think he's also just another redcoat. We don't condone colonialism. Next is Mr. Coffee. I think he's also Prayers and Sorrows. Kind of same thing. He's a part of the crew. Trying to free his people. Doing the Vive la Revolution, you know? It's great. Another redcoat lieutenant. I think his name is pronounced Utley. Anyways, he can go down there. Nothing crazy. Nothing special. And then Garrett, he's just a part of the crew. I think it's fine. He's there. I think this one's a little bit more interesting. So I think Vincent's a little bit more interesting because this is where the show is such a good show and so very interesting, because he thought that he was following orders in order to, like, make sure that the gold was taken care of, that, like, you know, he was just trying to be, like, loyal to John Silver. He was trying to, like, be a good subordinate to the person he wanted to call captain. And so, like, yeah, I think he's still just prayers and sorrows, because he was just kind of dumb. But I think that it was really interesting, like, the morality around, like, Vincent, and then also Nicholas. I'll just throw him in. They can be together. Because yeah, Nicholas was just dumb and didn't know how to, like, not keep a secret. And then Vincent didn't really understand that he wasn't supposed to just kill him. So, yeah. Prayers and sorrows. They both were just kind of dumb, and it ended horribly wrong, but it was an interesting component of Vincent didn't think he was doing something wrong. He thought that he was following an order, and Nicholas was just dumb because he was just dumb. So, yeah, prayers and sorrows. Sorry, guys. O'Malley, I think he was the one who he was Eleanor's, like, protector guy, and Ned Lowe killed him. Oh, man, I think that was really rough. I think that was, like, really rough. I think he's got to be up there. I think he's got to be a single tier, because that was really rough. Like, yeah, he could be a prayers and sorrows. He was just kind of like a guy doing his job, but I don't know. He was there from, like, the beginning of the series. I mean, Ned Lowe was only in season 2, so he only really was there for 2 seasons. But either way, I think that, like, he could easily be in prayers and sorrows, but, like, I don't know. He kind of got a bad deal of it. It was quite graphic. I think he can be a single tier in mourning, for sure. Mr. Collins, I think he's just another crewmate. Prayers and sorrows. He's just trying his best. This guy is also a rough one. This is where, like, some of the characters, even though they're meant to be, like, bad people, except for Hammond, like, him, but, like, some of the characters who are, like, bad guys, you can kind of see their motivation. And it kind of same thing with, like, Woodes Rogers. Like, yeah, we don't like him, he's awful, but the whole point of him being awful is because he, like, was pushed to that point and he lost the love of his life. And like, the morality comes from, like, they're just doing extremes in order to get the outcome that they're desiring. So, like, he is, like, awful, and I'm gonna put him in the, like, haha, happy goodbye, get out of here, vindication section. But I think that, like, his morality, it's interesting to look at his character not just as, like, oh, he's awful and he was just trigger happy and he was gonna try and, like, kill Max and, like, you know, all of these things. Like, he was a bad guy, but then also when he died, they, like, showed his, like, wife and kids in his locket, and so, like, you kind of feel a little bit bad for him that his motivations were all to support his family, but he was also still a bad person. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm happy he's gone, but also, well played, Black Sails. Well played. You made me care a little bit, but it still doesn't justify and negate how bad he was. So, moving along. Albinus. Alright. From my understanding of Albinus, is that he owned people. And that is something else that we can't condone. So I'm gonna say burn. Good. Goodbye and get out of here. Enough said. Joshua, though, I was actually really sad because him and Joji are like the two best crew, like, from season 1, and like, well, he didn't make it all the way, but like those two were like prime crew, and him dying was unfortunate and sad and awful, and I was upset about it because I don't know, he's just cool and he was a good crewmate. So broken heart, rest in peace. Peter Ash's guard, I can't remember his name. Anyways, this guy, Rhett, Mr. Rhett, was also awful, and he killed Miranda, and he's trigger happy, and yeah, I mean, again, it, like, you can make arguments for like why he was so harsh, and you can also come from the perspective of the English, but this show is not from the perspective of the English. This is a show that like is on the pirates' side, so obviously, like, with that bias in mind, he is gonna be vindication that he died, because he was also shown to just be like an ass. So yeah, I think you can see where both of them are coming from with their actions, but I think that it doesn't excuse it, and this is my list, and I don't feel bad that he's passed, and good. Jenkins, I mean, yeah, you know what? He didn't... Jenkins, from what I remember, basically stopped following orders. Like, Charles Vane was his captain, and he was on the boat during one of the, like, missions, and then he was... I think he was the one who cut off, or who, like, broke John Silver's leg, or, like, ordered John Silver's leg to be broken. Which, yeah, I think he's gotta go down here too, because don't disrespect Charles Vane. And also, don't betray your pirate brothers. That's the whole point. Like, enough of that. Dr. Howell, I don't think there was anything wrong. I think he was just a dude, also. Just a guy doing his job. Just there. Yeah. Prayers and sorrows. R.I.P. Okay. Mr. Morley. See, but the thing is that he was kind of right with, like, Flint. And I don't think we can necessarily condone mutiny, but I also think he wasn't wrong, because he wasn't wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really cared that much. It's unfortunate, but I don't know. Yeah. Moving along. Randall. Poor Randall. He was trying his best. And he was very smart. I think, Randall, I think he's got, Randall. I think he's just got to be in prayers and sorrows. I think poor Randall, prayers and sorrows. I think we got to move along. So, don't remember. Oh, there's like Dobbs, Dooley, and Dreyfus, and DeGroot, and Dobbs, and somethings. I think this one's Dooley. Let me just check. No. We did Dooley already. So who is this man? Who is this man? Oh, right. Oh, Logan. Oh, okay. Man, Logan, yeah. You can also just chill. Oh, Randall, you're taking up a lot of space. Okay. Yeah, Logan, Prayers and Sorrows. Sorry, man. Same thing with Charlotte. Yeah, I think they're both... Yeah, they ran away together to, I can't remember where they said they ran away to, but anyways, yes, apparently they ran away together, so they can be in Prayers and Sorrows together also. It was really unfortunate. I feel like... Yeah, I don't know. That whole situation... Their death was kind of just like a outlet for Anne to be upset. And it was kind of... I don't know. Their death felt unnecessary because... Yeah, okay, Anne was upset that she was being sort of like pushed out and she had this fear of being pushed out, but like... That's extreme. We support women's rights and women's wrongs, but that was a bit extreme. But Prayers and Sorrows, regardless. Peter Ash betrayed his besties and then had them both, well, one of them killed, one of them attempted killed. Peter Ash, vindication. You got what you deserved. Also, I mean, this clearly spoilers in this episode because we're talking about the deaths and stuff, but like, also, man, I guess he didn't even know that Hamilton was still alive. Or maybe he did. Maybe that's a huge conspiracy theory. And if that's also the case, good. Pleasant snicker that you've gone. So, yeah. Richard Guthrie. I feel like Richard Guthrie is in between Prayers and Sorrows and I Don't Care. Because he was not a good guy. And I think that Eleanor's response to his death also, like, I can see where she's coming from in, like, oh, like, we were making progress and we didn't have the time to, like, mend our relationship. But also, Richard Guthrie was a bad guy. He wasn't gonna actually mend the relationship, so... I don't know. I don't know where to put Richard Guthrie. I think I'm gonna put him in here. I think I'm gonna put him in between, like, because I'm not apathetic, but I also am not quite entirely pleased. And I think that, like, a character's death has so much, the impact of a character's death has so much more to do with, like, the rest of the character's reactions to it and responses to it. So, yeah, I'm not apathetic to it, but I'm not quite vindicated and pleased about it, so he can sit halfway. He's in this 3 area of the Prayers and Sorrows, I Don't Care, and, like, yeah, he's in that range. So, anyways, Captain Lowe, he's bad. He's a bad guy, kind of irredeemable, but he was cool and he was kind of fun. But I think, like, even though he was a cool and fun character, I think he's still got to be, like, vindicated. Because he was just, a not good person. He was just bad. So, yeah, I think that's what it's got to be. It's fine. Dobbs, this one was kind of he was kind of a ride. Because... Oh man, this is why this show was so good. It gave me anxiety and heart palpitations because it was very much like you don't know who's not gonna make it. And you don't know, like, there's so many roller coasters of emotions of, like, was he gonna betray John Silver, or, like, was he actually gonna, like, go along with the plan? Ultimately he did the correct thing, but, like, yeah, I don't know. I think he might be an in-between also. I think he might be an in-between of, like, Prayers and Sorrows and I Don't Care. Actually, you know, even though he was, like, not great, even though he was, like, kind of not great, I think I am gonna put him in Prayers and Sorrows, because at the end of it all, he was just a guy doing his job. And yeah, it was, he wasn't like the nicest or the best, but he came through in the end, and I think that's got to count for something. So, yeah. This death was sad. Mr. Muldoon. I don't know why this show went so hard on his death, where it literally, they spent a whole, like, section of the episode with Muldoon and Silver trying to, like, it's the episode where, Hornigold, like, chases, the walrus into the storm, and then Silver and Muldoon are trying to, like, seal up the hull to make it so they don't like sink. And then they spend so much time of, like, him talking about, like, oh man, like, your crew's gonna take care of you, like, we're here to take care of you, like, we're all in this together, it's all gonna be fine, all this and then they drown him. And they spend so much time preparing his, like, whole thing, and I cried. I actually cried quite a bit. So I was debating on putting him as the saddest death, because it was actually, they went so hard on his death unnecessarily, and I was very upset about it. However, there is a saddest death that is above his death, which I feel like some people might already know who it is. But yeah, that one got me. Because, like how I had already said, how characters react to another character's death and, like, how the show treats a character's death, they spent time with, and he, like, talked about, like, how he knew that, like, he was gonna drown, and that drowning was gonna be, like, scary, but then, like, he's heard that it's not so bad, and, like, he, like, held John Silver's hand until he was gone, and it was just, they did not need to go so hard on this man's death, but they did, and it was impactful and effective, so broke my heart. Anyways, Mr. DeGroot, I feel like he also is, like, so as much as, like, Muldoon's death they took so much time on, with DeGroot's death they didn't, and they moved along really quickly, even though he was, like, a bigger character and bigger part of the show for the whole series. He was shot in the water by Billy at the very, like, I think 2 episodes before the end of the series. So it was really, they moved along really quickly. So even though he was, like, a more important crew member and a bigger part of the series, they moved along so quickly from his death. So I think he's more important than Prayers and Sorrows, but they went very quickly with him. So yeah, that's why I think he's just a single tier. But Joji, I think he's also got to go in the heartbreak, because, man, these two, Joshua and Joji, were, like, OG crew members, and they were, like, prominently featured, and it was really sad, and yeah, they didn't also spend a lot of time on either of these two's death. However, I think that both of them were, like, particularly Joji was like, this is the end of the show. They are wrapping up the series. It is gonna be done, because he was, like, one of the predominant crew members. So I think that's, like, it just felt like, oh man, we're really wrapping up here, and it was sad. So yeah, I think that was heartbreaking. Mr. Dufresne, man, what a wild ride, because this show was so good. Particularly with, like, yeah, because, like, when him and Billy were, like, talking about, like, oh, like, nobody's died on their first time going over to, like, attack the other ships and stuff, and he was, like, all scared, and it was just, like, he was coming into his own at the beginning, and it just, But then he just became awful, and he betrayed his brothers on the ship, and that's like a big, they really established it, like, you don't do that. I think he's got to be Prayers and Sorrows because, yeah, he like ended up being kind of awful, like really awful, but okay, maybe, oh, no, I don't know. It was kind of vindicating. But I think maybe he's also in the like three, the sorrows, he's kind of between, but he's not apathy, but he's kind of between like Prayers and Sorrows and like a Jack Rackham smirk. Maybe I'll put him chill there while he's touching like all three of these, because he's somewhere in there. But I can't really commit because, you know, he could have done better, and he wasn't the worst, but he could have been better. So yeah, that's where he's gonna sit. Mr. Scott, I feel, was super cheated because his death and Charles Vane's death happened at like the same time, and so much more emphasis was put on Charles Vane rather than Mr. Scott, which, like, you know, that just is what the show did. So I feel like he was heartbreaking, but like he's kind of here because they rushed past him. Like they just rushed past him. They didn't give him an opportunity to like have impact. Also, technically we didn't see his body. He is confirmed dead, and like the people of his village like confirmed him dead, and everything was like he is dead, but like we didn't see him die on screen. So I am gonna give him an exception to the rule of like we had to see them die on screen because like so many people confirmed, and like he's confirmed dead like in post-production material. But yeah, it felt very cheated because we should have had more time with him. We should have been able to like feel the impact of his death because he was an important character. So I feel a little bit cheated. I think his death should have happened at a different time or a different episode than Charles Vane, because Charles Vane was the priority, that the show made a priority of his death. And so, yeah, Mr. Scott kind of got cheated in terms of, like, impact. But anyways, yeah, it was very sad still. Blackbeard was one of the most epic deaths, I think. Actually, he might have been the most epic death in the whole show. Yeah, I'm gonna run with that. He was the most epic death in the whole show. Yeah, what a badass. I think, yeah, it was so top tier. One of the best death scenes. Like, yeah, what a legend. Miranda, I think Miranda's gotta go just in single tier. Like, she was very side character, and yeah, we sort of saw like some of her history, but we didn't really see, until very close to her death, I think we didn't really see a lot of like her personality, her wants. Yeah, she was very side character until close enough to her death. But I did really like that she was like, I want to see this whole place burn, like, you know, and then Flint accommodated her last wish. So that was really epic also. I appreciated that. Hornigold is also one of those ones that I feel like I'm kind of in between. He's kind of also like with Dufresne in this trio of sections. Yeah, I think he's kind of just in this trio of section. The two were like besties. They can chill together in this section because, again, it was very much, I think, a situation of intentions and outcome and consequences of the outcome. And yeah, it was just all very messy. But there was nothing wrong with him until he started working with the British. But then you also kind of have to be like, oh, well, like, yeah, of course, if you don't see like another way to get out of a bad situation, then yeah, you're gonna compromise and sign a pardon and then be legitimized and have a comfy life. Like, I don't think that that's like a bad thing, but what I think is a bad thing is like all the betrayals he did afterwards. So anyways, Eleanor Guthrie, man, she was... I struggle with her. I struggle with her as a character because she... Man, how can we, like, begrudge an ambitious woman? But also, don't betray people, like... You know, I feel like her conflict with Charles Vane wasn't well... Or, like, she just betrayed people, and then it was, like... But then her, like, hatred was so... Felt unjustified, and it just... She was a very complicated character. So I don't really know how I feel about her. I think her death at the end, like, you know, I think we'll put her in... Oh, man, actually, I kind of want to put her in Prayers and Sorrows. Because, man, I have a lot of feelings about her. She was very complex, but I feel like, I don't know, she can just be a cautionary tale of the, like, negative effects of ambition on your relationships, because she even, like, screwed over Mr. Scott. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, oh, man, I don't know. She can be in between, I think. She can be in between. She'll be Prayers and Sorrows, but also a single tier for how complex she is. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how I feel about her. She's very complex. But I don't want to hate her just because she had her own ambitions and she wanted to, like, have independence and reach her goals. And she also wanted to reach her goals by herself without relying on, like, men. And I love that for her. But I also think, like, there's a way to do that without being an ass. Because Max did it. Max is a fantastic character. And she learned from those mistakes of, like, okay, well, I'm not going to make these promises and then break them to appease other people's promises and, like, betray people so that I can get, like, Max was under threat of torture and she didn't give away her sources of information. Eleanor so easily threw away relationships to accomplish her own goals with no regard for anybody else but herself. So, man, we support women's rights and women's wrongs, but I feel like she made a lot of bad choices, so I can't quite be entirely sad for her. Because, yeah, she can stay there. I don't know. Anyways, Mr. Gates was so sad. Yeah, I feel like he was such a cool character. He was so fun. R.I.P. too soon. Season 1, like, yeah. I mean, he also had a lot of impact in terms of, like, being a catalyst for, like, then after that, like, Billy was, like, done, like, fully done. A bunch of the crew were like, oh, this isn't gonna work out. And then it was, like, leading up to this big thing with, like, making John Silver, like, the Pirate King and all that. Anyways, so, yeah, I think Mr. Gates was just, like, such a decent person. Like, his character was just such a decent person. And so, like, yeah, I really liked him. And how he went out was very dramatic and awful. And also the show put a lot of, like, impact on his passing as well. And even, like, how Flint reacted to it. And Flint was the one who did it. And it was a whole thing. But I think, yeah, like, I think he was really sad. And it was quite upsetting. But yeah. And finally, the saddest death in Black Sails was Charles Vane. And I feel like the reason that I can argue this is because after his death, he was the catalyst for, like, so much of the revolution. Like, you know, how, like, Jack and Blackbeard and Anne all responded to it, and how, like, his death was utilized to bolster the boldness of the pirates to, like, actually succeed in, you know, taking back Nassau. And yeah, I think that you know, and like his death speech, and like the show, even like after in like interviews, the actor was saying that like they purposefully made his death as drawn out and dramatic and big as possible because they wanted to make it as impactful as it ended up being. So I think he is the saddest death because it had the most impact. It was absolutely devastating. It wasn't expected because, you know, even like Billy and like his boys were like there ready to go and save Charles, and then he's just like, the head shake. They did his death was done with reverence and with the like intention to make it the most epic and sad and impactful, and I feel like he was the saddest death. There's nothing else to say. Charles Vane was the saddest death in Black Sails. Yeah. And that was the ultimate tier list for every character death in Black Sails. Let me know in the comments, did you agree or disagree? Who do you think is the saddest death in all of this series? And also, who did you think was the most vindicating and like cheer-worthy death in all of the series? Let me know. I'm excited to hear your opinions. Give this video a like and subscribe if you want to continue coming along on more of our adventures. Thank you all so much for watching. Everything with love, and we'll see you next time in the treasure trove. Bye!